Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Susanna from the FOLO community, and we have the amazing Natalie talking to us this evening about our financial struggles and financial freedom. And we're looking at three key areas this evening, but I won't take that away from Natalie. I'll let Natalie let you know a little bit about herself and then what we're going to discuss overall this evening. I will, as always, Natalie, as you know, I'll put myself on mute. And then if anybody needs me, and I'll keep checking out the chat and letting anybody else in. Okay. Fantastic. I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. So hi, everyone. As Susanna said, I'm Natalie. I help single moms transform their finances so they can go on to achieve financial freedom, whatever that means to them. So tonight we're going to be focusing on three areas. So first one is the importance of facing up to financial issues. The next one is how to move forward constructively to find financial freedom. And the third one is how to teach children about money and help them create a secure future. If you have any questions during it, just let me know at the end and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Okay, so the first one, if you see me looking down as well, I'm just literally looking at my notes, not that I'm doing anything else. So anyway, the first one is the importance of facing up to financial issues. So the importance of facing up to financial issues is, in my experience, the experience of my clients, it's acknowledging where you're at financially. That means acknowledging your debts, acknowledging how much money you're bringing in, what's going out, acknowledging your spending habits or your spending patterns as well. When you acknowledge the situation you're in financially, you will feel like you have some sort of control. You'll start to realize that actually you were the one that got yourself into that situation, so you have the power to get yourself out of that situation. And I always feel like when you're acknowledging something with your finances or anything really, that opportunities start opening up for you, doors start opening up for you. Generally, like, people love to help those who help themselves. So for instance, when I was homeless like 10 years ago, and I was pretending that nothing was happening. I was pretending that I wasn't homeless to people. I wasn't telling people my business. And I think I just had enough of doing that. And I remember someone asking me how I was, and I was just honest. It wasn't a friend, it was just a random person. I was just really honest about my financial situation, where I was, that I wasn't homeless, that I was on my own taking care of 2 kids, having to go through all of this. And just acknowledging that and being honest about my situation literally opened a whole plethora of doors. And that's the reason why I'm actually here today. Like, so that led me to reading a book about finances and reading other books about finances. It led me to do a personal finance course. It led me to create side hustles. You know, it led me to get myself out of that situation. So acknowledging your finances, your issues within your finances is important. Not acknowledging it and pretending that it's not happening just makes the situation get even worse. And usually to a point where you actually can't handle it. And it gives you the power to overcome the situation. So the next section is how to move forward constructively to find financial freedom. So obviously, as I've mentioned before, firstly, you want to acknowledge wherever you are in your finances. Secondly, before you start going on about financial freedom, you need to always write down your values and your beliefs. And this will ensure that you achieve whatever route you take to achieve financial freedom, that is in alignment with your values and beliefs, and so that it's right for you. So, for example, back in 2020, the pandemic, I negotiated an almost 6-figure salary, and I was there for about 5 or 6 months, and I was like, this isn't for me. Yes, I was making a whole load of money, but my values and my beliefs are, one first important thing is my family, so aka my children. and secondly, to be present for them. And I wasn't able to do that while I was working 12 hours a day. Like I wasn't able to show up for my children in the way that I wanted to show up for them. And so I really do think it's really important that when you're on your journey to financial freedom, that you're doing it with integrity. You're not trying to do some get rich quick schemes. And if you're saying you're doing it for your family, but you're spending a whole heap of time working than you are with your family, then you really need to kind of take a step back and look at whether your values and your beliefs are really what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with going the slow, like I wouldn't say slow, but being steady and not going fast. Take your time, but make sure you're doing it in a way that's beneficial for you, that feels right for you. And money is important, but it's not the number one priority in my beliefs anyway. And then you want to write down what financial freedom means to you. So and when you're doing this, just remember that financial freedom, your terminology or whatever it means to you will evolve. So for instance, at one point, financial freedom meant to me that I was no longer in debt and I no longer had to rely on my kid's dad's child maintenance. He wasn't paying at the time. And I managed to get myself in a situation where I was financially stable. I didn't need him for money whatsoever. I had a year's worth of expenses saved so that I could take a year out of working. That's what financial freedom meant to me at that time. Now it means completely something different. So don't be so rigid. The more you grow, the more your meaning of financial freedom would evolve. But firstly, for now, you need to write down what it means to you right now. So, and to do this, you want to visualize it. So, yeah, you want to visualize, have a think about what financial freedom means to you. So, I don't know, maybe it could be you're able to go on a holiday 3 times a year with your children. You've got no debts. You've got savings and investments. You've got a fully funded emergency fund with 6 months worth of expenses saved. You're never worrying about money. Maybe that's what financial freedom means to you. So you need to kind of visualize that. You need to think about or visualize what you would be doing if you reach that goal. How would you be? What kind of person would you be? What would you be doing with your children? What would you be doing with your friends and your extended family? Where would you live? What kind of holidays would you take? How would you be dressing? Like visualize those things. And if you can't visualize, create a vision board. So in the beginning, when I first going on my financial freedom journey, I couldn't really visualize because I was homeless. It was quite difficult. Like in order for me to visualize, I had to literally remove myself from the situation. So me going to the beach a couple of times a month was the best time for me because I could visualize. But while I was in the hostel, I couldn't really do it. So I created a vision board, which is great. And I'd put my head and my kid's head on different bodies, doing all these different kind of activities. That meant financial freedom for me. So a vision board is great for that. Scripting, this thing called scripting, which means you just writing it out and you write it in the present tense, like I am, I have. But don't write it out. Don't write it as when I get there or when I do this. No, it's I am doing this or I have done this. You can do that. You just need to find a way that works for you. Another thing when it comes to constructively moving forward to find your financial freedom is understanding who you are. And again, the more you grow, the more you will evolve. So before that, I couldn't visualize, but now I can very easily. I don't need a vision board anymore. I don't even need to write things down in terms of visualizing my future. But you just kind of need to know who you are and understand that you will also evolve on this journey. And so who you were 6 months to a year ago, you're not going to be the same person now. And so it's making sure that you understand who you are. and how you operate. So that means understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, and using your strengths and maximizing on that. And then you want to make some goals. You want to write them down. What I'm going to say is a little bit controversial. I don't do SMART goals, and I tell my clients not to do SMART goals either, because they just don't work. None of my goals are SMART. They're unrealistic, they're ridiculous, and they're impossible. And if you listen to the statistics about single parents being in poverty,
I was asking where mine was.
If you continue to read those statistics, you're going to find it a really hard time trying to get to your goals. So I never make them SMART. What I do is I reverse engineer. So that's what you should do. You should reverse engineer. So start from the end goal and work your way backwards. So say, forgive that past example again, that your idea of financial freedom is going on a few holidays a year with your children, you're debt-free, you're earning a very good salary, you're financially stable, you've got some savings and investments, maybe you also own your own home as well, right? And so that's the end goal. You kind of want to start backwards. So you want to think about how much your savings and investments are, like how much do you have invested? When I'm talking about investments, I'm mainly talking about the stock market, so your stocks and shares. So how much do you have invested? How much do you have in your savings, your emergency fund, and maybe your sinking funds as well? How much would you need to earn having these things? How much would you earn in order to feel comfortable in your finances? Then you go back, okay, so what kind of things would you have dealt with to know that everything you earn comes back to you, where you wouldn't have any debts? You'd have a small amount of emergency fund to start off with. You'd be good at budgeting, right? You would be good at managing your spending. You'd be pedantic when it comes to your bank accounts. You wouldn't be avoiding that. You'd be looking at your bank accounts every day. That's how you go back. So if that was your goal and you've got debt, you've got no emergency fund, the first thing I would start with, okay, I need to build an emergency fund. I need to build 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. That's my first thing I need to do. That would be the first thing you do. And then from there, you can start looking at things, okay, I want to do that quicker, but I'm not making enough money. Then you can start thinking about, okay, so how can I increase my income? You can do it by upskilling within your career. And one of the ways that I do it, and I tell my clients to do it, is to look at other industries. You want to do it like the easiest way, because you're single parents. We have a lot on our hands raising our children. Most of us are doing it on our own completely. Plus having like full-time jobs, it's a lot. So you want to do it in a way that is not so stressful. And so what I did was I looked at my job role, where I'm currently in at the time. I looked at the average salary for that particular job role. And then I started looking at different industries advertising for the same job role. And I went where the money was. That led me to working for investment in private equity for millionaires and billionaires. They were just paying the most. And then I went on to work for American companies, and they paid ridiculous amount of salaries with amazing benefits, without me having to kind of get any more exams under my belt, get any more. You could say I did it the lazy way, but it does work. It really works. And I've been doing that for years. It's only now people are starting talking about that way on social media, or that whole thing about quiet quitting, which I didn't know it had a name, but I would do that all the time as well, because I'm loyal to myself, and not to the employer. So I'm just giving you some tips here on how you would navigate your way to financial freedom, but in a way that's best for you. Or maybe you want to start up a business and a side hustle, and so you want to do it that way as one of your vehicles to get to financial freedom. But whichever vehicle you choose, it needs to be one that feels right for you. So the last section is how to teach children about money and helping them create a secure future. So in my experience, the best way to teach children about money is being transparent. I find when you're hiding things like your financial situation, what I find with some parents is that when their children ask them for something, they get quite, they start projecting, or they get a bit angry because they haven't been honest about their financial situation. And you don't have to say, oh, we're broke or we're poor or whatever it is. You could just say, which I like to use, we're in a financial transition. And there's no negative connotation around that. But just in my experience, it's just best to be transparent with your finances with your children. And so how I do this is we sit down together and we discuss. So I talk about how much money I have coming in at various times during the month. And then we sit down together and I show them how I allocate. And sometimes we do it together, like they will come in and they will help me allocate every penny that's come in. I've recently started getting child maintenance. And so they also sit down and allocate where that money goes to. I think it's really important because from there they learn how to budget. They learn how to budget effectively. And one of my principles is, which I will go through, is that we spend, save, and give. So spending, obviously, as I've just said before, we sit down together around the table, or even here at my desk, at my laptop, and we sit down and discuss where everything is going and how much money is coming in for me that month. Then secondly, we talk about saving. So they know about emergency funds, but it's just me sitting down and showing them. I think the most important thing is knowing how your children learn best. So my children are visual learners. I home educate my children as well. So I find it really easy for me to understand how my children, what motivates them, how they learn best. So with my children, they, preaching or teaching from a textbook, which is most kids actually, they don't find that exciting. They're not taking it on. Children really learn by action. So them seeing me and seeing my bank accounts, that motivates them. So for instance, when I started investing, I started telling them, okay, mum's going to start investing in the stock market. They got interested. They wanted to know what it was. I think at the time, my son was about 8 or 9 and my daughter was around 13. So I was talking to them about investing. And I just broke it down for them. Like, okay, me investing in the stock market, me buying shares, it means that I also become shareholders and owners of the company. And then them seeing that it's well-known companies that they're interested in, like Google, Apple, Minecraft, but knowing that Microsoft owns Minecraft and they use Microsoft packages. Understanding that when they're going along the road and they're seeing things like Shell or Tesco's or those supermarkets, and they understand, oh, okay, like mum's invested in them too. So letting them see that, then they start getting curious, like, oh, I could be a business owner at the age of 8, or I could be a business owner at the age of 13. So I just think just being transparent and showing them has really helped my children want to know more about money and managing their money. So when they get pocket money, they know how to manage it. They know to save 50%, spend 30%, and give 20%. And the percentages don't really matter, but that's just how we've discussed and how they've agreed to do it. If you've got smaller children, I find food shopping really helps. It really gets them in the mindset of understanding that everything has value and requires money. So for instance, when my children was younger, I used to just carry cash with me to do a food shop with a list, which I still do now. But they would come with me And, you know, kids will go down the biscuit or the cereal aisle and they'll see something that they want. And so they'll ask for something extra. I'll be like, well, this is all I have. And this is how much our food shopping is coming up to. So you'll have to forfeit something in order to get that extra pack of biscuits or maybe that chocolatey cereal you want to try, you know. And so it makes them think. And there'd be a rule as well. They're not allowed to forfeit any fruit and veg. They'll forfeit some other stuff, but the fruit and veg is staying. So it would make them think, is this item that I'm trying to buy, is it worth it? And if it is, what am I going to let go of for the week? Or if not, they would use some of their pocket money to buy that extra. And I'm okay with that. But it just makes them think, makes them realize that, well, money does grow on trees, but that it just doesn't come out of thin air, right? Someone has to put some effort in order for that money to come in. And it helps them to stick to a budget and not overspend frivolously. So they become mindful about their spending and what they're spending on. And also with the food shop, knowing that actually fruit and veg is staying in the shop, like they understand about healthy eating. It's a whole array of things, not just finances, but it just shows what money can do and how they can stay within budget. And giving, which I don't really talk about. If you look at my page, I never talk about giving. Because I think it's kind of cringy to talk about it. But in this instance, I will talk about giving. So giving, me teaching my children the importance of giving is imperative. And so I make sure I give in front of them, that they are with me. So I don't give to charities. I do things like on the street. So outside of like donating clothes, we will give to like the homeless. I do this one, so there's a few things that I do this so that the children know that no matter our financial situation, we can still give. There's always people that are worse off than us. The reason why I show them about giving, I think it's really important to include in your budget, is for children to know that we're all connected. So whatever happens to that homeless person is always going to affect us too. It might not affect us directly, but it could affect our children, or there's children, or maybe our friends and family surrounding us. Like it's political, and what we do politically affects everyone. So it's really important that your children understand about giving. And I think financial freedom, once you've reached certain goals, you will start realizing that financial freedom is not really about you. It's bigger than you. And that's why it's really important to give back to your communities in whichever way. Like me, just giving homeless, or sometimes there could be someone at the shopping, in the supermarket, and I will, if they can't afford it, I will pay for their groceries. Most times I do it in front of my children because they are with me all the time because they're homemade, but there's sometimes where I just can't. I'm just using my discernment. But I think it's really important that you do include that in your financial freedom. It's not just about materialistic, and yes, I'm not worrying about money, but it's also being in a position of power that you can give back to those who are in need. Because building wealth, as I said before, is bigger than yourself. And that's it. That's all I have today.
Thanks, Natalie. I wonder if just before we got everyone to join us, we were sort of talking a little bit about the C word being Christmas.
Yeah.
And again, the financial worry, the concerns being a single parent, and how we're going to spend, save, how that if we change certain things financially to make us more financially free, how then are we going to be able to have extra money then for Christmas and everything like that. So I know it comes around every year and we know it's going to. What's your kind of advice in that financially to help us along the way with that?
Okay, so firstly, I'm so against Christmas.
Hey, you're talking to Mrs. Claus here.
I am, because it's just one big consumer fest. And you're just spending, and Christmas is about spending time with your family, especially families if you're only seeing them once or twice a year, because life gets in the way, and being a single parent is busy and stressful sometimes. So first things first, as Susanna said, that Christmas comes around every year. It doesn't change the date. It's 25th of December. So really, you should have no excuse as to why you're struggling for Christmas. And so these are the things, what I said to you before when I said about the constructive way of achieving financial freedom. The first thing you want to do is you want to have an emergency fund, because you want to make sure that if anything crops up, you are not using your Christmas fund to pay for those emergencies. You've got your emergency fund covered. Your emergency fund feels like, when you have it, it will feel like financial peace, like you are financially stable, because you're not going into any more debt. You're not using any more savings that may be used for the kid's birthday, Christmas, or anything like that on emergencies. That's why you have an emergency fund. It's really important. Secondly, number two, pretend this is the 1st of January 2024. You've got exactly 12 months to save up. Think of how much money you would like to save for Christmas. So say you want to have a £500 spending budget for Christmas. You want to do, let me get my calculator out. You want to do £500 divided by 12. So that's £41.66. So just round it up. You want to save £42 every month from January up until December, or maybe November. So that come December, you've got your £500 spending budget to spend on your gifts, food, whatever you want to spend it on Christmas. But it eliminates that feeling of, what am I going to do? I don't have any money left. And then I get paid in the middle of December, and that's my last payment until the end of January. You're panicking, you're trying to figure out how you're going to make Christmas work. But if you just plan in January, okay, this is how much I want to spend for Christmas, and every month you put some money away, or every time you get paid, you put some money away, it will alleviate that stress. That's what I would say. Number three, start getting frugal with your Christmas. Like, if you're hosting Christmas at yours, tell people to bring a dish. Either bring a dish to make up the whole meal.
Don't come. No. Or don't come. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm really joking.
Either tell them to bring a dish. If you're worried about people's dodgy cooking skills, then just send out a really transparent WhatsApp message, whatever. Hey, Christmas food budget is going to cost me this. I think everyone should chip in. It feels uncomfortable at first because you're probably never done it this way before. And people will look at you strangely, believe me. But when they see the results of what you've been working towards, you will see you're the go-to person for finance. That's how it was in my family. People looked at me like I was strange. But when they start seeing the results and they start seeing me, get those nice, great money jobs, and that I'm getting these high-paying jobs, but I haven't got lifestyle creep, my lifestyle hasn't increased. They ask me, well, Nat, you're still driving the same old Peugeot, you're still doing this, still wearing the same old clothes from the charity shop. What are you doing with your money? Oh, I'm investing, I'm saving, I'm traveling the world. People want to take notice. Okay, what are you doing? How are you budgeting? How are you managing your finances? People are never on board first when you're first doing it. It's natural, it's human behavior. They're not being malice or there's no ill intent. It's just you're going against the grain. So that's what I would do. Get everyone to chip in for the food. Does everyone need a Christmas present? No, they don't. So you could do a secret Santa, or You know, what I do when I go to my various families' house, because I do have a big family, I just get one present for the kids, usually a board game. It's great. But it just means that, you know, I'm not spending loads. I'm not spending loads of money on Christmas. It just doesn't make sense. You can wait until the sales, which I used to do, but the sales are not the sales anymore. I don't know if you saw what Amazon's doing. They had like was it a Prime Day? But it was the same price as it was on a normal day. So what they did was the original price they inflated and then slashed it and put it as the cheaper price, but the cheaper price is the same price as it was before Prime Day. So sales are not sales anymore. So you really just need to think about, as I said before, write down what your values and your beliefs are. That's what it should. And so I always go to that. If my values and beliefs is about spending time with family, like family is important to me, spending time, not necessarily money, but my time, like quality time, traveling the world and feeling financially stable, then none of those things have anything to do with having a flashy car, buying designer clothes, spending out frivolously to all these family members. Like that's not in alignment with my values and my beliefs. So it's really important for you to know what they are and know what your principles are as well. Your principles never change, but your values and beliefs are always changing and evolving. So you just need to kind of know what they are first before you go on this journey. So that's another thing for Christmas. I hope I'm not going on a tangent. So make sure you have a budget for next year. So you're putting every month you're putting a little bit of money towards your budget. So you're not stressing when Christmas comes. Number 2, don't go around spending loads of money on gifts. Do a secret Santa if possible. And number 3, if you're hosting it at yours, get everyone to chip in. Either bring a dish or chip in some money so that you're not left with the budget. And that's what I would say in terms of Christmas. I think if you're in a sticky situation right now for Christmas and you're thinking about, okay, how can I, you want to get great Christmas presents for your children. Well, this is what I did when I was homeless with my kids. I just told them, mum can't afford it right now. And then when the sales come, it's a different time then, but when the sales did come, I took them to Toys R Us when it was opened. And they had a bit of a little shopping spree. I say a spree, but they chose like 1 to 2 items that I could afford. Or you could be like, just get one present, just get one main present that you know that they would appreciate. I think, yeah, as I said before, you need to know what your values and your beliefs are. I think once you stay true to them and your principles, if it's not about material and being materialistic, you'll start edging away from how Christmas is usually done in society, and you will do it differently. And so, yeah, that's what I have, son. I hope that's helped someone.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Christmas is and can be very different as a single parent. I just think in my own experience that my Christmases were so very different, especially the first 3 or 4 of being on my own with the children. I had to like reduce literally everything. And I had family come over, but a bit like what you said, I did it where my parents bought our turkey and then I did all the vegetables because that was like the cheaper side to thing that I could manage myself. And then my brothers and partners and that, they brought like alcohol, desserts, cheese and crackers, like everyone brought something. And then as a gift for the children, I got them a board game and then we played it all together. And it's a funny one. And it's that moment then when you think, yeah, that was probably one of the nicest Christmases we've had in years, because it was just the simple things. And I know you're very much about that too. But I think that it's just so very different because you can just get so caught up and so swept up, and it's crazy.
I think as well, which I want to add, just to the financial freedom thing, if that is your goal, it's just, even if it's not, but think about living a minimalistic lifestyle. Like, we don't need a lot of things. Because then that kind of shapes your perspective, and you start thinking about what life is really about. So for me, one of my goals, the reason why I run a business and do investing, is because I'm thinking about how I want to be as a matriarch in my family. So I want to be able to support my children when they have children. I want to be that type of grandmother. It has nothing to do with things. I just want to be able to have the finances to be able to support my family, because I know how hard it was for me, and I don't want them to have to go through it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to leave them this bunch of wealth, because I'm really not. I'm going to take every penny with me, spend it die. Seriously.
That away.
Yeah.
And they give that away.
Yeah. They are not, I'm not leaving them no kind of inheritance. Obviously, knowledge, spirituality, emotional, and mindset, I'm leaving them with knowledge and skills for them to be able to know how to make their own money and to manage their finances. And I'll leave them a little bit of something, but that money is to be used when I'm alive, so I can treat them as I'm alive. But yeah, my main principle is always about family and how I can support them best. And for instance, a couple of years ago, I paid for my sister's university fees. Being able to do that for my sister to qualify as a child psychologist and be able to live in her purpose, that's why I'm building financial freedom. It's not about driving the nicest car or anything like that. It's just being able to support the people in my community. And yeah, that's so. Whenever you're thinking about your financial freedom, I always say, come away from social media, really sit down and think about what it is you want. And that's why when I was homeless, I used to go to the beach, because you're just in nature, right? It's just the sea, the sand. I've got my children playing in the distance, and I've got a pen and notebook, and I'm just writing down about how I want to feel and what that looks like for me. So it's really important to just come away from the media and this unrealistic view of what life is like, and just really sit in and hone in what's really important to you and why you're doing this. Why do you want to be financially free? Why is it you want to work on your finances? Because that why is what's going to help you stay committed when the journey gets tough.
Absolutely, indeed. Before we finish this evening, does anybody have a question that they might want to bring forward or pop into the chat? I'll give you a minute or two to see if anybody, you can either unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can pop it in the chat. So I'll give you a minute or two in case anybody does want to do that. And just for, while I'm waiting for that, just to let you know that on the Frollo YouTube channel, all of the recordings for the expert meter that Natalie has done beforehand about financial freedom and her remarkable story. That's not a story, it's true, all true life story. And all about the financial freedom and support that Natalie can give you. It's all there, so you can rewatch some of the recordings if you want to as well. Okay, let me have a little look. No, there are no questions currently. You covered everything. Oh, hang on. I spoke too soon. Okay. Oh no, very helpful. I too don't like the idea of spending crazy for Christmas. Sorry, it's the Lemsip. It's about being together, the precious time we have, and the precious time that we sometimes take for granted. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It really helps me now with how I feel about my financial freedom. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Adriana. Hope I've pronounced your name right.
It's a remarkable story, and thank you so very much, as always, Natalie. Always a pleasure. Thank you for those that have joined us this evening. So I'm going to end the session there. And thanks ever so much again for taking the time to come and join Natalie and myself this evening from the Frollo community. And that is always, thank you so very much for being part of the Frollo community. And also, Natalie has a lovely section in the book with Zoe and Rebecca Cox as well. So get it, go read it.
Yes, on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Go. Okay, well, thank you ever so much, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.